Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why some women leave a man thinking about them non-stop, while others fade from his mind the moment he walks out the door? It's not always about looks. It's not even about what you do. It's about how you make him feel. And there's one tiny, almost effortless thing you can do in the heat of the moment that will have him completely hooked on you. When you call a man's name during intimacy, it does something far more powerful than most people realize, because while the physical side of intimacy often gets the spotlight, it's the emotional intimacy that actually leaves the longest impression and makes the connection unforgettable. Saying his name in that heightened, vulnerable moment cuts through all the noise of everyday life and tells him something words can't easily express in casual conversation. It tells him you are present with him, you see him, and you are choosing him above anyone else in that exact instant. Think about it this way. In a world where people often feel like just another face in the crowd, being called by name in a moment of passion is like being lifted out of the crowd and placed under a spotlight, where there is no doubt that you matter, no doubt that you are significant, no doubt that you are desired for who you are, not just what you can provide. It is easy to go through the motions of physical closeness without really engaging on a deeper level, but when you speak his name, you are bridging the gap between physical sensation and emotional recognition, and that makes intimacy memorable and magnetic. There is something incredibly grounding and validating about hearing your own name from someone you care about, because it hits a primal need we all share: the need to be acknowledged, the need to feel seen, the need to know we are not invisible, especially to the person we've chosen to be vulnerable with. In fact, when a man hears his name moaned in the heat of passion, it affirms to him that he is not interchangeable, that this connection is not generic, that his presence matters in a way no one else's does, and that feeling becomes addictive because we are all hardwired to chase after the places and people that make us feel truly significant. And the beauty of this is that it works not because it's some kind of manipulative trick, but because it is real, because it comes from a place of honesty and emotional exposure, where you are willing to let go of self-consciousness and speak directly to the bond you're creating. The name is like an anchor that ties him to the moment, and the moment becomes an anchor that ties him to you, which is why emotional intimacy is always greater than just physical sensation. Without that layer of emotional depth, intimacy can feel fleeting, transactional, or even forgettable. But when you add his name, it transforms into an experience he replays in his mind over and over, because it carried a deeper meaning than just physical pleasure. It carried the message that he was wanted and acknowledged as a whole person. That is the magic of emotional intimacy, and that is why something as simple as a name spoken in the right moment can turn an encounter into a memory that lingers and creates a lasting pull he cannot easily escape. Using his name in moments of intimacy is one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to personalize desire, because it transforms the experience from something that could feel generic into something that feels deeply intentional, specific, and uniquely his. When you say a man's name at the peak of closeness, you are sending him a direct signal that out of all the men in the world, he is the one you are choosing, he is the one you want, and he is the one who has captured not only your body, but also your attention and energy. This is crucial because men, just like women, have insecurities that often stay hidden beneath the surface, and no matter how confident he might appear to be, there is always a part of him that wonders whether he is enough, whether he is truly desired, or whether he could easily be replaced. By calling his name, you are dissolving those doubts in an instant, because there is nothing more affirming than hearing the sound of your own identity being tied to the deepest expressions of desire. It becomes a moment where he feels not just like a man, but like your man, not just a body in the room, but the very center of your focus. In a sense, this act is personal branding in intimacy. You are branding the experience with his identity, stamping it with something that only belongs to him and that makes it unforgettable. Personalization always makes people feel more valued. Think about how different it feels when someone gives you a compliment that could apply to anyone versus one that is specific to you, your personality, your unique qualities. The latter feels genuine, powerful, and unforgettable, while the former can feel hollow or even dismissive. The same principle applies here. When you moan his name, you are not offering a vague signal of passion that could apply to anyone. You are directing your energy to him and him alone, making the experience intensely personal. This is why it has such a profound effect. It's not about the physical act of speaking, it's about the psychological confirmation that he has your full attention and that he matters in a way no one else does. He internalizes this personalization and begins to associate intimacy with significance. And once that association is created, it is extremely difficult for him to let go of it, because every human being craves that feeling of being the one who is chosen above all others. By personalizing desire in this way, you are essentially setting him apart, elevating him, and making him feel irreplaceable. And this is the very thing that breeds obsession, because we are all magnetically drawn to the people who make us feel special. The truth is, most men do not often get to feel truly seen in this way. So when it happens, it leaves a mark that is both emotional and psychological, creating a lasting bond that lingers long after the moment has ended. Moaning his name during intimacy is not just about passion, it is about vulnerability. And vulnerability is what deepens connection more than anything else, because it shows a man that you are willing to let down your guard and be fully present with him in the moment. Many people try to protect themselves during closeness by staying in control, by hiding their raw emotions, or by keeping a safe distance so they do not risk being hurt. But when you let his name escape your lips in that unguarded way, it signals to him that you are not holding back, that you are not playing it safe, that you are giving yourself over to the experience and to him. This vulnerability has a magnetic effect because it creates trust, and trust is the foundation of any form of obsession or lasting attraction. A man might enjoy intimacy with someone who remains distant or controlled, but he will not feel the same level of connection, because what makes an experience unforgettable is not just physical closeness, but emotional openness. By showing vulnerability, you invite him into a deeper layer of your world. You give him access to a part of you that not everyone gets to see, and that makes him feel special, chosen, and significant. Vulnerability is also contagious, meaning that when you allow yourself to be seen in that raw way, he feels safe to do the same, and suddenly the interaction is no longer just about two bodies, but about two souls meeting without pretense or defense. That is why something as seemingly small as moaning his name can create such a powerful impact, because it represents an emotional surrender, and surrender is rare in a world where most people are busy trying to protect their image, their pride, or their sense of control. Men, even those who appear strong and confident, are deeply affected by this level of exposure, because it reassures them that you trust them enough to let go, and being trusted in that way is intoxicating. It gives them the sense that they have earned access to a part of you that is hidden from the rest of the world, and that sense of exclusivity is what creates attachment. Vulnerability also magnifies intimacy because it removes the layers of performance or expectation, leaving only authenticity, and authenticity is always more powerful than perfection. When you moan his name without holding back, you are not trying to impress him or play a role. You are simply revealing the truth of how he makes you feel, and truth is far more seductive than any act. It speaks directly to his deepest need to be validated as a man who can touch not only your body but also your emotions, and that validation creates a feedback loop where he wants to give you even more, so he can continue to experience that raw honesty from you. The beauty of this kind of vulnerability is that it does not weaken you, it strengthens the bond, because what a man remembers is not the polished exterior you showed him, but the moments when you let your guard down and allowed him to see the real, unfiltered you. And once he has seen that side of you, it is nearly impossible for him to forget it, because vulnerability, more than anything else, makes intimacy meaningful and makes the connection unforgettable. When you moan his name during intimacy, you are doing something that goes far beyond the surface, because you are creating a powerful psychological anchor in his mind that links his identity directly to pleasure. And this is where obsession begins to form. The human brain works through associations, and the stronger the emotional or physical state we are in, the more powerful those associations become. So when he hears his name in the middle of passion, his subconscious begins tying the sound of his name to the rush of desire, closeness, and ecstasy. Over time, this repetition creates a loop, so that just hearing his name in your voice, or even recalling the moment, can trigger that same surge of excitement and connection. This is how anchoring works. It binds a stimulus to an emotion, and the more it happens, the more the two become inseparable in his mind. Think about it the same way a song can take you back to a specific memory or scent, can remind you of a place. Once an anchor is set, the mind replays the emotional state almost automatically, and in this case, the anchor is you saying his name at the peak of desire. The effect of this is profound, because it means that his very sense of self, his name, his identity, is being reinforced with the most pleasurable and affirming experiences he can have, and that makes him crave you in ways he may not fully understand logically, but feels intensely emotionally. Men are not immune to conditioning, and in fact, they are especially responsive to it in the context of intimacy, because it is one of the few times they feel completely absorbed in the moment, without distraction, without control, without resistance. In that state, his defenses are down, and his subconscious is wide open to absorbing new impressions, which is why moaning his name carries such a lasting impact. The psychological anchor also creates a sense of ownership in his mind, because when you repeatedly attach his name to passion, he feels that he is the source of your desire, that he is the one capable of bringing you to that level of intensity, and that belief becomes addictive. It is not just about ego, though it certainly feeds that as well. It is about emotional significance, because he begins to connect the idea of himself not just with who he is, but with how he makes you feel. And that is the type of reinforcement that makes someone crave more and more of the same experience. The more his name is tied to passion, the more he wants to keep being the man who brings it out of you. And this creates a cycle where his desire to please you and his obsession with you deepen together. What makes this anchoring even stronger is the fact that names carry deep meaning for everyone. Your name is the most personal sound in the world to you, and hearing it in a moment of raw intensity cuts straight to the core of your identity. For him, it is like merging his sense of self with the feeling of being wanted, chosen, and celebrated, and that combination leaves a mark he cannot shake. Even if he tries to explain it, he will not be able to fully articulate why he feels drawn back to you, why he keeps thinking about you, why he feels an unshakable connection, but it is because his subconscious has been wired to link his name with one of the most powerful emotional experiences possible. And once that bond is established, it becomes incredibly hard to break. When you allow yourself to moan his name with confidence, what you are really doing is stepping into your own feminine power, and this is something that men find irresistibly attractive because it signals that you are comfortable with your desires, unapologetic about your pleasure, and unafraid to take up space in the moment. Confidence in intimacy is not about being loud or performing. It is about authenticity and presence. It is about owning how you feel and expressing it without hesitation or shame. And when a man sees that you are secure enough to let yourself go, it becomes unforgettable for him. So many people approach intimacy with self-consciousness, worrying about how they look, how they sound, or whether they are doing things right, and that energy of doubt often creates distance rather than connection. But when you confidently call his name, it shows that you are not trapped in insecurity. You are fully immersed in the experience and in him, and that level of immersion is magnetic. Men are instinctively drawn to women who embody this kind of self-assured presence because it reassures them that they are not alone in carrying the energy of desire, that you are just as invested, just as passionate, and just as willing to show up in the moment. Confidence also amplifies desire because it is rare. Most people hold back. Most people filter themselves. But when you are bold enough to let your voice express what you feel, you stand out in his mind as someone unforgettable, someone who is not afraid of her own sensuality. There is a deep kind of power in being able to express pleasure without holding back, because it communicates that you value yourself enough not to diminish or hide what is natural, and that power is intoxicating to a man who wants to feel like he is with a woman who knows her worth. In fact, moaning his name with confidence is not just about turning him on. It is about affirming that you are present in your own body, that you are aligned with your own feelings, and that you are not playing small in the moment, and that energy of authenticity creates a stronger bond than any scripted act ever could. Men crave women who radiate this type of unapologetic presence because it makes them feel like they are experiencing something real, not a performance, and real experiences are what get burned into memory. When you step into this kind of feminine power, it does not diminish your softness or vulnerability. It actually enhances it, because true confidence allows you to open up more deeply, to give more freely, and to connect without fear. The combination of confidence and surrender is what makes the moment addictive for him, because he sees a woman who is not only secure in herself, but also willing to share that security by letting him in. And that is the rare balance that men cannot resist. By moaning his name with confidence, you are sending a message that you are both strong and open, that you are both grounded in your worth and willing to express your desire, and that blend of qualities is exactly what makes a man feel not just turned on, but obsessed, because it is not something he encounters often, and once he experiences it, he will keep craving more. Lasting obsession is never created by a single act, but by the meaning behind the act. And when you moan his name during intimacy, the real reason it leaves such a deep mark is because it makes him feel truly significant, desired, and chosen in a way that goes far beyond physical connection. Anyone can provide physical pleasure, but not everyone can make a man feel like he is the only one who matters in that moment, and that is what turns desire into obsession. When you speak his name at the height of passion, it tells him that he is not just filling a role. He is not just there because of circumstance. He is there because you want him, because you see him, and because he brings something to your life and your body that no one else can. This kind of affirmation speaks directly to a man's deepest need, which is to feel valued not only for what he does, but for who he is. And when his name becomes tied to that message, it creates a sense of emotional certainty that is difficult to shake. Obsession does not grow from surface-level attraction alone. It grows when someone feels that they are understood and appreciated in ways that others have never given them. And intimacy becomes the perfect place to plant that seed, because it is already a vulnerable, heightened state where emotions are amplified. The meaning he attaches to the moment is what makes it linger long after it ends, because he replays not just the physical sensation, but the emotional message underneath it, that he is enough, that he is special, that he is desired for who he is. Men often carry unspoken doubts about their worth, their desirability, and their ability to satisfy satisfy the person they are with, and when those doubts are answered in such a direct and undeniable way, it creates a powerful imprint. He starts to feel that with you, he is not just another man, he is the man, and that distinction fuels his attachment. The truth is, obsession is about significance, and significance is about meaning, because people become addicted to the relationships that make them feel important, irreplaceable, and fully acknowledged. When you give that gift through something as simple yet profound as moaning his name, you are creating a loop in his mind where his identity and his importance to you are constantly reinforced. Even outside the bedroom, this meaning carries over because he associates you with the rare feeling of being completely wanted without conditions or comparisons. That is why some connections fade quickly, while others become unforgettable. The ones that last are built on layers of emotional meaning, not just fleeting pleasure. So while moaning his name may seem like a small gesture, its impact is massive because it tells a story about how you see him, how you value him, and how much space he takes up in your heart and mind. And when a man feels that kind of meaning tied to intimacy, it goes beyond attraction. It becomes a bond that keeps pulling him back, because deep down, what he craves is not just the physical act, but the reassurance that with you, he matters more than anyone else ever could. So when you put it all together, you can see that moaning his name is not just about turning him on. It is about creating something much deeper, something unforgettable. It is about weaving intimacy with meaning, taking a simple act and turning it into a powerful emotional anchor that ties you to his sense of significance, his desire, and his identity. It tells him he is not replaceable. He is not just another man. He is the one you want, the one who matters, the one who makes you lose yourself in the moment. That is why this simple act becomes so powerful. It blends vulnerability, personalization, confidence, and emotional depth into a single experience that lingers long after the moment has ended. And when you give a man not just passion but meaning, not just pleasure but significance, that is when he cannot stop thinking about you. That is when you move from attraction to obsession, and that is when you become unforgettable in his heart and his mind forever.